Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. We're so glad to finally be back. And if you're watching today, then you may notice that things look a little different around these here parts. I'm shooting here from a brand new location, which we'll talk a little bit about that today. But we're very excited to be back, right, Steph?
Yeah, so for the first time in a very long time, let's roll this podcast intro and talk about moving day. It's been a while. We kind of told on like Instagram and on our stream that we're taking a break and Adrian's moving, but we never officially told it in the podcast, never said it on our YouTube channel. So we just kind of went radio silence.
Yeah, we went dark, MIA. We were
Yeah.
out there. Like, people were probably wondering what happened to us.
Except for that one random Instagram reel that just popped off as we kind of stopped posting for a bit.
Yeah, that was definitely weird. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. You've probably seen it, though, already. Especially if you're a Indian male between the ages of 24 and 36 or whatever. You've definitely seen it.
Yeah, it just suddenly popped off, and we were like right in the middle of that break where Adrian was moving, and I was like, But anyways, we're not here to talk about how Instagram famous we've become. We're here to talk about moving day. So if you saw our vlog from this Saturday, you have seen the different stages of emotion Adrian went through while the process of moving. So let's start with, how do you feel?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster, man. Yeah, look, I watched that video back again yesterday just to remind myself of where I've been, where I've come. And well, it was pretty accurate, you know. It was a long, like, week-long process basically of moving out. I've moved a lot in my day, I will say. But this one was pretty tough, mainly because of where I was and trying to get everything out, right? So I feel right now, I feel pretty chill, right? I feel pretty nice, at peace. It's nice. It's all done. It's over. And we're back recording again. We're back streaming again. We're back in the flow. So things are nice. Things are nice, Steph.
Because you've stayed in Shreveport, Bossier for how many years now before moving out?
I moved to Shreveport back in 2009 when I started college there, and I've really been there since. Aside from like times like between semesters when I'd go home, or during holidays when I travel a bit, I've pretty much been there ever since. So we're 12 years in, going on 13.
12 years in.
I think I saw on my timeline on Facebook there was like a 13-year like anniversary thing or something, and I was like, that's right around the time. Like, it has to be close to 13 years.
Wow. So that must be tough too, kind of like leaving the city that was like your home for so long.
Yeah,
I know you're back home, but it's like it was home.
Yeah, it's weird because like you always hear of like, if you have to move back to your hometown, it's kind of like you failed at something, right? It's like, oh, you just end up back here or whatever. But that wasn't the case for me. I intentionally chose to come back here. But yeah, it is weird though. I've made a lot of great friends and stuff. I have a lot of people that I really love back in Shreveport. So it'll be difficult to see them. And you know, that's really, I guess, kind of the bulk of it about moving anyway. I'm not necessarily attached to any one place, but it's mostly the people there. You know, that's the reason that makes it hard. I don't much care about cities or streets or anything like that. Just, it's mainly people.
So before we go into like talking about like the moving process and stuff, and because even though I'm of no use because I'm 8,000 miles away, I was on FaceTime when he packed and stuff, and kind of giving him like, it's okay, let's do this together, even though I wasn't doing anything. But the question,
you're lying in bed watching me work. Like usual.
The question that's burning in our hearts is, how does it feel moving in with your two brothers, your two younger brothers? How has it been? Remember, they're gonna listen to
Yeah,
this.
they might not. So let me lay it out. Let me lay this out for our listeners, right? So I grew up in this area where I am now. Um, a good chunk of my life, at least a good chunk of my childhood, was spent here. We actually built this house from the ground up, so we're the only people who've ever lived in it. My parents are currently like out of town. They're out of town a lot because for work and such. So pretty much all the time, like they may pop in for like a few days every like 2 or 3 weeks, but then they're right back. So it's really kind of us house sitting, basically, is what it seems like. We're just house sitting for them, and they're my roommates. That's kind of what it feels like now. It's not the typical like going back home setup, with mom cooking pancakes in the morning or something. It's very much you have roommates with your two younger brothers. Um, One, it's been fun. It's been fun. We've done a lot of like playing games and just hanging out, going to grab dinner and stuff. We've had a lot of good times. There's been some a little bit of headbutting here and there too, mostly regarding like chores around the house and things like that, things that need to be done. Um, I don't want to flame them too bad on the podcast, just in case their potential wives would happen to listen. I wouldn't want to rat them out that
No,
bad.
but it's always an adjustment because you went from living by yourself for the longest time.
Right.
I mean, the first 4 years you lived with your cousin, but then you've been on your own, to coming back to a more back to roommates where you have to be like, oh, how is this working out? What's going to happen? And it's also kind of their domain because they never left. So you're coming back into their like kingdom, their land. So you can't really like bring a lot of change in
Right.
because
And
it's like,
like my room that I used to live in, my other brother has taken over it now. So that's his room. So I'm not about to come back and kick him out of that room. So I've moved into like our kind of spare like den area. We have like kind of a den man cave kind of thing. So we've converted that. My mom's been so gracious to convert that into kind of my space, and this is where I am right now. Kind of the sleeping space. It's the recording space. It's my work space. Like it's a little bit of everything. Even my office space, my like game space. So it's like a little bit of everything. So it's filling a lot of a lot of roles. But I will say that I was coming from a studio apartment, and I think this room is actually bigger than my apartment. So that's actually kind of an upgrade. The view isn't as nice as being on the 8th floor downtown Shreveport, but it's a little roomier, so, and not as noisy, believe it or not. Even
so
with
let's
two
talk.
young roommates.
I mean, they're barely there again because
Yeah,
they're
they work a
young
lot.
roommates. They like being out or asleep. So
Yeah, that's true.
so let's talk about the move a little bit more. How was it to move? Because you were only in that apartment for 6 months. Like, what was your thought process of like choosing the apartment for 6 months and then moving out? Like, how did it come about?
Well, it's always tricky, like, for me at least, choosing an apartment lease, like signing a lease, because typically they'll be for a year. A 6 month lease costs more money per month, but you're not tied to be there for a year. So I'm always like, should I take the year and then just pay the extra to get out of it early, do the lower rate, or should I just do the 6 months? And I think honestly, it probably works out about the same. Um, but like for me, I knew I needed that like set in stone. Like, all right, in 6 months, I have to have a decision made, right? I have to do something. So I knew with this one, I was like, all right, we're doing 6 months at this place. It's a pretty cool little spot. We'll just stay here, figure out things over the course of the 6 months, and then that'll be like my definitive date of like, all right, it's time to move. It's time to do this. I don't really know, like I went with this space that I was in. It was a lot different than the typical places I would rent. like I'd rather rent like a house or like a smaller like area, but this was a, kind of a business district type thing. It was like middle of downtown Shreveport. Like I said, on the 8th floor of this like 10-story building.
Bougie.
It's like really nice, studio
Bougie.
apartment. It's like I felt like I was some kind of like important person or something up here in this tower. So it was a little bit pricier than I would have probably gone with normally, but it was kind of close to work, and it was open when I needed to move in. So because I moved out of my old place already. So, you just do it out of necessity. But
I will say this. If you see the vlog, it doesn't do justice of how bougie the place is, because Adrian
it's not
started
that
the
bougie.
vlog
Come
on the worst day, where like his clothing rack fell, his clothes were everywhere. But when he did the tour for it, and he did it with his cousin, and he had me on FaceTime. Like, when I say bougie, like, there are new cabinets in with these like gold trimmings on the side, and it's like bougie
Stainless steel
compared to.
appliances, these huge windows. I mean, massive windows. Yeah.
Oh, it had the most beautiful view, especially at night. So Adrian and I would be talking, and he'd be like, "Oh, look at the city lights," especially like on a Saturday where everything is just going off. Everyone's just
Yeah.
the
Music
lights are
playing until 3 in the
beautiful.
morning. You've got motorcycles blaring down the highway. 4 a.m. leaving. Yeah, it was definitely pros and cons. But like I was saying, the other places I stayed are normally like 1 to 2 floor like apartment like buildings, right? And a lot of people will know what I'm talking about, like the typical standard like apartment that you see around here. It's more spread out. It's not like big tall buildings or anything. It's multiple buildings of like 2 floors. So that would be typically like where I would stay. But this was a little different. I figured I'd try it out. But I will say it made the move a little more difficult. Because moving out of my previous apartment, it was a lot simpler than moving out of the 8th floor of a building with multiple doors to go through, with scanned access in and out, a parking garage, all that stuff. It kind of complicated things a little bit. I'm just grateful that I didn't have any major, like, huge furniture, and that it was a mostly furnished apartment.
Yeah, but we're just grateful that that we're at a place, or Adrian's at a place where he can actually kind of take a break from work, kind of, move out, because I know that a lot of people don't really have that option, especially when it's needed. So we're just kind of grateful that his work kind of understood where we are in our like lives, and just kind of gave the opportunity to do it. So I I think out of everything that we've talked about, we've just talked about like how like grateful we are for the to be able to do this, because if y'all don't know, we've been engaged for what, 9 months now, and there is no wedding date in sight. There is no planning that has happened.
Because she won't marry me. She refuses to marry me. She said, no way.
And I think we will celebrate our 1 year of engagement before we actually get married.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But that's all just because of like visa and stuff. And so
Going back to the apartment. Sorry, I'm coming over like a little bit of sickness. I've been like real stuffy and having like really bad allergies and a cold for the past like week. And so I'm kind of coming off of that. Yeah, and it's really bad down here. It's always worse down here than it is back where I was. So that was a good welcome back home, right? Get sick in the middle of having to do all kinds of stuff. But the thing that really made the move more difficult was like, so this new place is up on the 8th floor, and I've got a couch. That's the biggest thing I brought up there, was a couch. I've got a table. I've got my desk, my computer set up, because we do all this stuff. So I've got tons of computer things. That was the bulk of what I had, plus plus my like kitchen stuff, dishes and that sort of thing. And then I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but I also run an online store. I have a couple of online storefronts, and so I had a lot of like inventory. And while I lived there in this studio apartment, you can even see this in the video if you watch it on YouTube. I'm like talking about how, maybe if you live in a studio apartment, don't run an online store where you have to hold inventory. Because even while I was there, I had like accumulated more inventory, and I was busy, so I wasn't like posting it all up and sharing it out as much as I normally do. So it was just kind of collecting, and I was stocking up, and I'm like, it's like cluttering my space and filling up my life, and everywhere I go, there's just like boxes and bags of stuff everywhere, and I'm like starting to feel like a hoarder. It's stressing me out a little bit, and there was just nowhere to really like put it,
If you know Adrian, he's a very minimalist person, as in only keep what you need kind of person. In his old apartment before the one he moved out of, like he had the smallest closet, which had things that like maybe 10 t-shirts to just grab and go, and he's like, I don't need that many. But like since the online store started, it's like he has a whole new wardrobe for every single day of the year.
Yes. There's lots to pick and choose from, and I always find stuff that I like and want to keep. And I've actually started collecting a little bit too, so maybe we need to get into that in a podcast. That could be an episode there. Let's talk about collecting.
Oh yeah. There are times where we have to be like, okay, we don't right now have a house, so we cannot keep
Yeah,
that
there's
right
certain
now.
things I come across and I'm like, that'd be so sick to have, but we don't have like a spare bedroom or like an office or game room or anything, some place to put it. But yeah, we need to write that down.
Come across like good like furniture and stuff, and I'm like, we have no place to keep it right now. So,
but yeah, all those things
married.
definitely complicated it for sure. Like just having so many boxes to bring. You'll notice in the video I actually end up making 2 trips down, and my family actually comes up on the last one to help me get the rest of it. Otherwise, I probably would have had to do 3 or 4 trips if it was just me by myself. So super grateful for them for doing that. When they came up to do like the final like big moving day, this was the last day I was there, turn in your keys and all that stuff. It just started pouring rain. It rained all day. Up to that point, it hadn't rained in like over a month. We'd been like a drought basically. And the day that we're moving out, it's just pouring rain all day, and it rains all day the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And it was like 40 days and nights of rain, it seemed like. And you saw like the arc like come floating by down the street and stuff. Like, it was bad. So like the whole time we're moving, it's just soaked. We're soaked. Everything's getting wet. And it's just making an already difficult move a little bit harder.
And it was so humid. Even like the first trip that you made down, it was so humid. It's just, but also that week that you were moving, the final move, you had like a dental surgery or procedure that needed to be done. And so that kind of made it worse because he was out of commission for like 24 hours. 24 hours that he could have packed stuff. He was just out of commission.
Yeah.
I remember I went to sleep when he had gotten back from the dentist, and he was asleep. And when it was time for me to sleep, he was still sleeping. So
Yo, they gave me
it was an interesting time.
They gave me some stuff. So it's right in the middle of me packing up. So I was trying to basically, like, I started like a whole week or a little more than a week before, because I knew that I had this dentist appointment right in the middle of it, a whole procedure, and it's going to take me out for at least a full day. And so I was like, all right, I got to make sure I'm at least got some of this stuff picked up. And so they do the treatment and everything and whatnot, and they send me home. And my aunt's so nice, and she picked me up and brought me to the dentist. She brought me back to my place, and they gave me like 2 or 3 doses of Ativan, which is this friggin' this anti-anxiety medication, because I'm a little baby when it comes to the dentist. And I was back there. It was like a 3-hour procedure too. It was like a long time to be back there. So I was very appreciative of it. But it was like 3 times the dose of it. So I was just like blazed out, like
He was
I
living his
was
life.
I was like poured up with a double cup, I was like getting that codeine on or something. Like I don't remember what was in it, but it was it was some serious stuff. So if you're on that stuff, definitely keep with your normal dosage.
Doses.
Don't bump it up too
Yeah.
much. You'll forget the day. So basically, I spent the next
Oh,
week talking to people, trying to piece together that day of what happened, because apparently while I was on it, I was like out of it. Like I barely remember any of it, like really small bits and pieces. But apparently, like I was up and I was like talking to people and we were like having conversations and things, and I don't remember like any of it. I was talking to my aunt and she was like, "Yeah, you were talking about this. You wanted to drive home and everything." And she's like, "No, I'll go ahead and drive. Don't worry about it. I'll drive. It's okay." And I was like,
he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember. He got on like the lift elevator for his apartment, and he FaceTimed me, and I was like, "How did everything go?" And he's telling me how it went. He got to his apartment. He got on his bed, and he's like talking, and he's like, "I think I should sleep." And I said, "Yeah, you should sleep. I'm gonna sleep too." And we both fell asleep on FaceTime, which is a normal thing. But like he was out, like his mouth was open. I have never heard Adrian snore ever. But that day, his mouth was just like he slept in the most uncomfortable position. Like when I saw him, I was like, man, his neck is gonna hurt the next day. Like, okay, if you can see the like if you're watching this, you can see it. But if you're on audio, I'll try to explain it the best way I can. You know the armrest of the couch, right? So whenever you'd want to lay down, you'd want to either put like a pillow there or lay on the cushion part of it and not on the thing.
I was just on that
His
thing raw.
head, his head was half on the headrest, half like neck just floating, with his mouth just open
Gaping
wide. Like
open.
he put his phone to talk to me, right? So I can see him. I can see him slowly fall back on the headrest in the most uncomfortable position, and his mouth just open wide, and he's
Wow.
like and it's like, Adrian, Adrian,
And I'm
Adrian,
gone. That
Adrian,
was it.
and he's out. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll fall asleep too. And he'll. So what usually happens is, if we both fall asleep, Adrian usually wakes up like 10, 15 minutes later to hang up. I woke up 3 hours, 4 hours later because my alarm went off, and I'm like, are we still on FaceTime? Because you plugged in your phone and you just kept it. And so the 2 days later, when I'm telling him all of this, he's like, "No, I didn't tell you that. I didn't call you on the elevator." I said, "You did. We had a full conversation."
It's so crazy, man.
It's like, "No way." I said, "Yes." You opened the door and you said, "Oh, the people here are really weird." And you walked in your door. Because I think some neighbors crossed you with like something had happened. And you
Hmm.
just go, "People here are so weird." And you just walked in your door.
Oh my gosh, that's so like it's kind of scary a little bit because I don't even know how I like I basically convinced my aunt. She didn't even know until I talked to her a few days later, like that I was even like anything was going on. She was like, "Man, he's doing pretty well," because she was expecting me to be like pretty like out of it, but no, I was up the whole ride back,
He
and
was out of it. And
I
he
was
just
talkative.
faked it.
Walked inside. I scanned in the door, walked in, went up to the 8th floor, through the doors, and unlocked my apartment. And went in, locked it back, and everything. Like, and I don't remember like any of this. I called you. Apparently, we had a conversation. Like, I don't remember any of it. And I'm just like, man, just think of all the stuff I could have gotten into. That would have been bad. I could have made bad decisions and not even known it. Oh gosh.
No, we literally. So I said, "What can you eat? What can you have?" And he went, "I like soup, like chicken soup." Like he talked so passionately and
Did I?
sensually about chicken soup.
No
Yeah.
way. You're making this up for the podcast. I don't even believe
No.
you.
Do you remember you had soup, right?
When?
Like you woke up and you had soup for dinner.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So when I asked you,
I
like,
did my
hey, did
COVID
they say
soup.
what? I said, hey, could you have they given any restrictions? Because usually they say, like, don't have
Mm-hmm.
cold, don't have, too hot and stuff. So I asked you, and you go, like, I'd like soup, like chicken soup. Like, this is like the time when you were like slowly going on the armrest of the thing. Oh, like good chicken soup. Will you make me chicken soup? And I was like, I wish I could. And you're like, I like chicken soup.
Man. Oh no.
It was
Oh
so
no.
funny. But Adrian is like the cutest thing, like all like doped up. He's
Right.
so cute.
Yeah.
He
Ativan is
gets like,
basically like another, like it's a lot like Xanax. So if you've ever seen someone like really using Xanax, not using it to treat like a legit condition, but like I guess abusing Xanax is probably the word I'm looking for. Then that's that's what you get. You know, if you ever heard of the rapper Lil Xan, yeah, that was me basically. So that was Lil Xan. I'm gonna drop my new SoundCloud mixtape.
so that kind of complicated like moving stuff because he, I want to say he lost 24 hours, but like even like after 24 hours, he was still like coming out of it kind of thing. So it was just like there was no work done on
Right.
the apartment. It's
I was
like
really
you need
tired.
to start, like you need to start packing and stuff. So it was a rush and a race to be packed and be ready to move.
Yep. And that was the whole thing, man. I was so like I was kind of on edge throughout everything because I know that I've got to move. I know that I got all this change coming up. On top of it, I've got to do this dental procedure. It's going to cost a lot of money and whatnot. Like it was just a whole thing. So coming out of that, once things were kind of resolved, I was back to my normal state and just taking care of my teeth. Then I finished packing up stuff, had my closet repaired and everything after it had collapsed earlier, and so finally I'm able to wrap up the last bit of packing and get it all together. um,
And
yeah, that's one
then on
thing.
top of
That's one
that,
thing I didn't
on
even cover in the video. Is that whole dental procedure. I didn't really film much of that.
yeah.
I did,
I mean,
however.
I
We
don't
should have
think
put
you
it
would
in
be
there.
able to.
We should have put it in there. While I was in the dentist, I took a
Oh
legit
yeah.
17-minute video. I just straight
Yeah,
up
he
was
did.
holding my phone while this guy is like drilling on my teeth, and I'm like out of it because I remember this. I remember asking them to film a TikTok with me, and I know I was out of it because I would never be like, "Hey, film a TikTok." I would say like, "Can you film a video?" I wouldn't say specifically a TikTok.
Oh
So I'm just
no.
out of it completely. But I remember him being like, "Yeah, we will. Yeah, we'll do it later. We'll do it
I think
later."
he knew you were out
He
of
knew
it.
I
I
was out
think
of it.
he
He
knew.
did. And he knows that
Because
people will
even
say
in the
weird
video,
things.
you could see like Adrian has it like really close to me, close to the phone close to his face, and he's like, it's like a video he's trying to send to me because he goes like, so I'm waiting, like he's whispering, and it's I'm waiting from them to come in, and they're gonna do this, da da da. So and you hear the doctor come in, and he puts the phone down, and like 2 minutes later, like you can see his hand just fall like plop.
Yep.
And then the rest, like 15 minutes, is just that, like you're looking at the ceiling.
Yeah, we probably should have snuck that in the video a little bit.
I should have. I should have.
I didn't send it to
Completely.
you. Well, maybe
So,
maybe you'll see that a little later on, a little Easter egg.
so apart from that, Agent also, before he left, had to send in his passport to get renewed because, he's planning on coming to India. So he's racing to get all these things done, which is just I don't know. I
Just
don't
a
know
lot of
how
stuff.
you
That's
did
my
it.
life. It's
I just
busy.
I
It's
don't know
hectic.
how
It's
you
crazy.
did it.
It's last minute. It's a lot of stuff. This is what you do when you live on your own. You just do what you got to
I
do.
would not.
Anyone else who lives on their
I
own
would have
knows
not.
what it's like. You just do it. You know?
I would have had a panic attack so many times. I couldn't. I couldn't.
I'll hook you up with
I
some Ativan. It's all good.
No. Oh no, no,
You'll be
no.
feeling good.
Also, we talked about, okay, this is such a weird tangent, but we talked about like the difference in like dental procedures in um India versus America. And it sounds so like unnecessary, the things that you guys do.
What? Avoid
Like
pain?
Ativan, you go under general
Not
anesthesia. Like
not for
I
just
went in,
anything. Not for just
I went
anything.
in, no, no, like a wisdom tooth removal where they had to like they had it was like a proper procedure where they cut open your gum and like they take out your tooth, blah 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 blah
So you do
blah.
that without
I just
anesthesia.
had
You just open your mouth and they just cut it open and
no,
stuff.
I did
You didn't
local
do anything. You didn't do
anesthesia.
anything. You just
Local
go in there and you're like, give it
anesthesia.
to me, doc. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna show these
No, but
stupid
I mean like
Americans, these
local.
dumb
No, like
idiots. I'm gonna
no, like
show them.
local anesthesia.
Give
Like
it.
you had local anesthesia, but I never like I've heard people go like under like
Yeah,
general
people. It
anesthesia.
just depends on the person, you know. I'm a baby, so I want all of the things. I wanna. If I cannot remember it, that'll be great. At first I was thinking I was going completely under, and I was fine with that. And I was actually
Oh
disappointed.
yeah, you did tell
I
me
was
that.
disappointed that I was just getting the juice, you know. That I was just getting a little bit tipsy, but
But
hey,
that
that worked.
juice
It
was
was
like
good juice.
it was good juice.
Yeah.
Well, I want us to talk more about this move, but I want to talk more about like why the move has happened, what's in the future for both of us
Mm-hmm.
since this move has happened. So I am thinking, why don't we do a part two and we talk about more in detail of why you moved and where we are going forward with like podcast and our like creative projects together. What
Yeah,
do you think about
that sounds like a
that?
good idea. Because I know we still have a lot to talk about because we've got a lot of pretty cool plans coming up here in the near future. We want to make sure everybody's aware of them and what's going on in our lives because this move was kind of a big like kind of next step, you know, like a next chapter. It kind of felt like a turning of the page, so to speak. So
Mhm.
while it was very hectic and busy and pretty like draining, it's overall for the good. So we're excited about it. We're excited about, you know, what these next couple of months are gonna look like.
Yeah.
And we definitely want you to be a part of that journey. So we definitely want you to stick around to the podcast, especially the next episode, so you know what's going on. You know, stay plugged into our social media because that's where you'll see really quick and timely updates. We'll be posting there, and just trying to keep everybody abreast of the situation that's at hand, dear Watson.
Yeah.
Dear Watson.
So we'll see you next week. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe.
Mhm.
We are on our way, or our goal is to hit 100 subscribers in the next.
Where do you want them to subscribe, Stephanie?
Oh, sorry. Subscribe on our YouTube channel because we
Oh.
want to hit 100 by the year end. So we're hoping that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, if you like listening to us on your drive to work or while you work out, make sure that you're listening to us on all the streaming platforms.
Right. Every podcast service, pretty much. Spotify, Apple, Google. Be sure on those stores to go ahead and rate our podcast as well if you enjoy it. That also helps with the algorithms and pushing it out and getting it to people. So we do appreciate that. Thank you so much for all the help in that regard. We do this just because we love it, but we also want people who might also love it to see it, come across it, and maybe be encouraged in their situation or find some new people to hang out with, you know. So thank you so much for listening, for supporting. We truly do appreciate it. We hope to see you back here next week. Same time, same channel, same place, same avenue, same lovely faces as always.
We love you all and hope you have a wonderful week ahead.
Bye.